This meeting is called to order. Mr. Larry, would you do the invocation? All please rise.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, we thank you, Jesus, for allowing us to get together at this time. We ask that you give us wisdom and courage to make sound decisions. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Mr. Aberdeen, would you do the pledge?
Certainly. I'd like everyone to please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Zahn, would you do the roll call, please?
Terry Cazzo.
Present.
Kenneth Leary.
Here.
Lyman Aberdeen.
Present.
Charles Shivers.
Here.
Milton Kluwat.
Here.
Mark Stewart is absent. Greg DePlacis.
Here.
Robert Cochet. I received messages from both Mike LeBlanc and Mark Stewart notifying us that they would not be here tonight.
Okay.
It was just impossible for them to
Okay.
be here.
Yes, ma'am.
They'll be here next time.
Yes, ma'am. We now open the floor for signing in of public comments. Anybody wishing to comment on the item on the agenda, please sign in. This session is now closed. Next business is going to be, as everybody is aware, our former chairperson resigned, and that's now leaving us to open it for discussion and nomination of new chairperson.
I'd like to nominate you, Mr. Milton, to do that, please.
I second.
I accept it. Is there any oppositions to this nomination?
I move we close nominations.
Nomination, vote is closed now. Mr. Kluwat accepts it, and chairman. Now we're going to open it up for vice chairman. Nomination now open up for vice chairman.
I would like to nominate Mr. Robert Poche.
Second.
Any opposition? Mr. Poche is now vice chairman. Well, congratulations, Mr. Poche. Thank you. Now we're gonna. Our next order of business, and number 5 is Ms. Cascio would like to do some things or discuss some things as far as relation as to scheduling parish council members and all. We're gonna turn the floor over to you, Ms. Cascio.
Thank you, sir. I think what we have to do is open for discussion about how it would be best to schedule the current members of the council, any other public officials, or the parties that may want to have some input to this commission. Particularly, we need to have people who want to express concerns, who want to answer questions for us, and who would like to make recommendations to us. Let that be known so that we can schedule them. And I'm not sure, Suzanne, how we would go about doing that. Do we schedule the council in alphabetical order, by district?
I don't know if you want to maybe send them an open invitation, but I'm certain you want maybe three of the members here at one point, or you can just decide and we can just invite them to attend.
Why don't we do this, Mr. Terry? Would you like to come up with some kind of plan to enact on a series of calling the parish president and the parish council before this committee, and come up with some kind of plan and that we can submit, and we can all take a look at and agree upon about getting these gentlemen before us and discussing the position of this charter?
Sure. I think certainly we need to have more than one at a time, because we would run. We don't have enough meetings in the next year to try to get them all in here individually.
Yes.
We can meet with them privately, as I understand as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So we may, anyone who doesn't want to come and speak publicly may want to meet privately, and then we could also task that to various members of the commission, I suppose. But I'll be happy to see if we can come up with a plan that everyone could agree to.
Okay, well,
Mr. Chairman, if we're going to do invitations, you need to probably give consideration to having the administration be top of the list and then go to the council members.
just repeat that, sir.
Go to the administration first, then go to the council members would be the proper protocol.
I
If
agree.
we're going to be doing an invitation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Point.
Yes, sir.
At our last meeting, the parish president was here as well as one council member, and both expressed to us that they certainly they're willing to help, but they want to be more hands off and leave it up to us, which doesn't say we can't invite them all. My suggestion would be, as we have a representative on this commission from each district, that each commissioner, by phone, by email, by personal visit, is get with your respective council person and express to them our desire that they come before us, see how many first are willing and want to do that. We may get some answers that, nope, they're leaving this strictly up to us, and they don't want to get involved, in which case we would then compile a short list, possibly, of actually who wants. Once we see which ones want to come, then we can maybe make a schedule, 2 or 3 per meeting, and let them come that way. But let's first find out which ones are interested in coming to us, starting with the parish president.
What do you envision they're doing in that? What part of the participation do you envision they're doing?
I have questions personally about various parts of the charter and how it affects the function.
Yes.
And I would personally like to know from members of the council what hamstrings them, in their opinion, what they run across that even necessitated this look. There are charters in our area that require that the charter be reviewed by ordinance. I mean, it's demanded in the charter itself. Every 10 years it has to be reviewed. But that is not the case in our charter. It was not put in originally.
It was not.
So now they have appointed a commission. They must have done that for some reason. And I would think we need to know what that reason was. It could not possibly be just because they don't want all the ordinances read at the meetings. There's got to be something else that is hamstringing the council or the administration, or I don't know what the answer is. I know we were formed to do this job, and we look forward to doing it, but there must be something that these folks know that we don't know.
I envision that a little differently, if I may.
Sure.
I envision them giving us a particular subject matter that they have a problem with in the current charter that they would like for us to review. I don't think it would be their responsibility to advise us as to how to make the corrections. It is our responsibility to them, once they give us the subject matter, to review it, see what we can do to improve it or change it, and make that recommendation back to them in our final report.
I agree.
I don't believe that it was ever conceived that they would be the ones, and I don't think they want the perception
Right.
of the fact that they're the ones that's making changes to the charter or suggestion changes to the charter. I think they envision that to be the charter members' actual decision, and that don't mean they have to accept them, but that's what they envision, is us giving them the recommendation. They can give us the subject matter, but that's and there's some areas in the charter, obviously, that do need to be reviewed. They're obsolete. They were never completed when it was originally done. I served on the original charter commission. I can promise you there were plenty of things that we have liked to put in there, but for lack of tact, of saying it a different way, we wanted the charter to pass.
Right.
There was some, that's being honest. There were some issues that were somewhat controversial that were never put in the charter that was discussed very extensively. Some of the things that we probably need to just go back over and look at what's not in the charter that should be in the charter. I mean, this is down the road. I understand. I'm not trying to prolong this meeting tonight by discussing this. That's just my vision of it. I don't know if that's accurate. That's just the way I interpret it.
Yeah, you have that right.
I envision it the same way. I just know that there's got to be something out there that we need to be looking at, and I would certainly want the council's input as well as our own, simply because they're working with the charter. They would, I don't know where it hangs up. I need to know.
Okay, is there?
Did not the chamber center
Yes, we have
list
that.
you have those?
If you may, on number 7, item number 7, we'll, if you don't mind, we'll get into that in a little bit more depth, if you don't mind, Mr. Porcher.
I didn't know.
Yeah, right. No, sir, I have it.
Had
and-
that?
Yes, sir, I have it, and I'll discuss it with the board more in depth, and we can all really get into it.
Well, I was
But-
trying to answer a question.
Right, yes, sir.
There is some people who's already made recommendations.
Right, yes, sir.
That we look at.
Yes, sir, and I have that, and we'll get into it with item number 7.
Thank you.
Okay, we
I have
finished
no-
with item number 5. Is anybody else like to, any input on item number 5?
Well, I'd like to reiterate what Mr. Porcher said. I think that's exactly what I was told by my councilman. We're here to try and review and make decisions or bring to the table new ideas.
Okay, all right.
I'm good with that.
Okay, then we'll move to item number 6.
Well, are we agreed that each member will contact their councilman?
That would have to be put in the form of a motion, wouldn't it not be, Ms. Mann? Wouldn't that have to be put in the form of motion that each councilman, each committee member contact their representative that appointed them to the board and interview them?
You could put that in the form of a motion, but it could just be a recommendation that you all agree to.
Okay, all right, if everybody agrees to that, I'm, okay. then-
Yeah. A follow-up to that is, will it be you or Miss Suzanne to contact the members that are not here to let them know that we expect them to contact their councilman?
Okay, we will. We'll take care of that. We'll take care
Greg,
of that.
maybe I misunderstood. I thought we were going to do the invitations to them. Whether they chose to accept the invitations, we were going to start with the parish administration, and then we were going to offer an invitation to a certain number per meeting, as opposed to us contacting them and telling them whatever.
This is strictly to find out which ones are interested in coming, then we'll make the schedule.
And invite them. Would that, Mr. Porcher, that's fit?
I would invite all of them if they chose to come or not come.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
That's not what we just said. We said we was going to invite those that wanted to come.
Which is what you just said.
Okay. Let's do this.
Opposed to just those that were.
Let's do this. Then why don't we just send an invitation to everyone in concern that we feel like as a committee that we'd like them to have them come before us. That way we can ask them questions and interview them and let them respond to the invitation, and let's go from there. Would that be, Mr. Porcher, invite?
I think that instead of
Okay. Instead of each individual one contacting their individual councilman?
In fact, you can't say,
Okay.
well, I didn't get the invitation.
Okay, all right. then
Invite them all.
Invite them all.
They don't-
Now,
you know.
would we want to invite them all?
What schedule you want to use to invite them, whether it's a certain number, that would be left to you, I guess.
Okay, well, we have a timetable that was set on us, and we're going to, I want to illustrate that we try to keep this timetable at this point in time, and we going. The council is asking for our recommendations by April the 1st, 2009.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we send out an invitation to the parish president and his administration, anybody that we feel like that we need to talk to in the day-to-day operations, the hands-on operation of the parish, and also the council. Now, would y'all want them here at the same time, or would you want administration here first, meaning parish president and his personal administration, his key people, or would you want the council along with them, or would you want them separate?
If you ask me, I prefer them separate.
Then I think being this is, we should put this in the form of motion. Wouldn't we do this now, Ms. Manda, or we can still leave it as discussion?
I think it's still discussion.
Okay, then Ms. Suzanne, why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and schedule the parish president and his administration, key people that would like to attend, and come before this board in the next meeting. At the next meeting, will we go ahead and send out an invitation? Is that sufficient for the rest of the board members?
Yes, I'd like to, if I may include something in that.
Sure.
Suzanne, in that invitation, point out that we're asking them for any recommendations that they may find that's incorrect in the charter or something that's not in the charter that they would, of course, like to see us discuss and put in the charter so they'll know what the subject matter is that they're coming here for.
I agree. Anybody?
My only concern would be, we have a timetable that we're trying to adhere to, and we only meet once a month. So by the time you bring in the administration, then you bring in the council, then we're looking at October, November, before we can sit down and kind of evaluate what they've said to us.
I agree with you, and I was informed, and we put the agenda together at the last minute, and I was informed that some of the things we cannot discuss is not on the agenda, and that would be one of them. Okay. And that will be on the next meeting agenda, to where we possibly change some things in our meeting procedure. In other words, possibly going to two per month and the time, and et cetera, and that we would have that on the agenda where we can really discuss it at the next meeting. Is that sufficient for the rest of you gentlemen? And ma'am?
Certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's jump to number 6 now. Ms. Terry, would you talk about that, being you got it on the agenda?
I had the same question. I have made some contacts outside of this parish. A particular friend of mine who is a parish president in another parish, and he has offered us any assistance that we might need, or any to come and answer any questions we might have about how their charter functions. So I wondered how we might accommodate that if we had someone we thought would be a benefit to all of us to hear about from a different parish.
Anybody else? Anyone else?
One of the things that we found very helpful when we were drawing up this first charter was to, in fact, go through the charters. We had them for 3 other parishes that are already were under the home rule charter, and we had a copy of their particular charter, and everyone got a copy of it and was able to go through them and kind of pick and choose what was applicable for this parish and what wasn't. Some of it we found we copied almost verbatim.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if we could get those copies, the current copies of those parishes today. I remember one of them was St. Tammany, and one of them was St. John, or whichever it was. There was 3 of them anyway.
Yes, sir.
And we found them very helpful in helping us decide, well, look, in this parish they did it this way, and over here they did it this way. And sometimes we just copied one, sometimes we blended them.
Yes, sir.
We found it very helpful. I don't know if you'd like to see that done now, where all the members would have those type of copies. I would suggest that the first thing is that does everyone on this committee have a copy of our current charter?
Ms. Boucher, my understanding is that everyone was given a copy of the existing home rule charter that's enacted now, plus a copy of the 2002 commission report that they did. Yes, sir. From my best of my knowledge, I think everyone on this committee.
I will say this: that not everyone received it.
Oh, okay. You don't have one? Then, Ms. Suzanne, let's make sure that this gentleman gets one.
With your folder in it.
That's what I'm telling you. I didn't get the invitation to the first meeting, and I didn't get that packet.
Well, I'm sure Ms. Suzanne will see that.
Yeah,
That's why
Ms. Suzanne,
if I'm saying things that sound
you
kind of
see that, he
radical,
gets it.
I wasn't aware of it.
And not, yes.
Y'all already had that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is there any more discussions in relation to outside counseling, outside counsels?
I would just like to say, I would certainly like to see the parish president from from a neighboring parish come and talk to us. Just thinking out loud, I think it would benefit us if we first identified and defined some of the problem areas, if in fact there are some in our current charter, before we bring him in. Know that we would have something to compare against and ask them, once we clearly identify some existing problems with our charter, once he came, then we could ask him, how do y'all address this, and have something to compare to, as opposed to we bring him in here and we find our problems and we find out we're duplicating the same. They've got the same problems we have and haven't figured out how to resolve it. On the other hand, let's first identify what we're going to have trouble with, and then start bringing in the outside people and see how they address it. First, we don't know what questions to ask. Is my concern.
Yes, sir.
I agree.
We haven't
my only question was, is it possible?
Oh.
And should we even continue?
I think our administration from our last meeting
indicated that if we needed, yes,
we could either bring them here or we can go and visit them. We may want to form a subcommittee to go visit them. Might work better. That we can decide that down the road. I just think that needs to come a little later. But I'm not opposed to bringing them in now if that's the wishes of the majority of the commission. But I think we can do a better job before we, inconvenience them, I guess would be a word. Let's make sure we get our nickels worth when we decide to sit down with them.
I agree with you, Greg, and that brings back what I was saying a while ago. If we had a copy of their charter to compare to ours, we'd be better prepared to question this person.
We discussed all this last time, that we want the charters of at least our three surrounding parishes, those that are most like us. Livingston Parish, possibly Tangible Hope, maybe Iberville.
Let me just say this. These charters are easy accessible. You can go online and get them. I went today and pulled a few of them off already. So
right. So
they're easy to get to.
So the quicker we can identify what we think needs changing and improving, then we can try to get some advice from our neighbors and see if they have figured out a better tool.
Any more comments on this issue or this item?
Just let him know we're anxious to talk to him.
Okay. All right. We're going to move to number 7, which I had Miss Suzanne put it in there so that I could give my little report. I took the existing home rule charter that we had, and I spoke with Mr. Don Hanna, who was on the 2002 commission that put together the recommendations in the year 2002. I took those charters, the existing charter and the recommendations of 2002, and incorporated them together, and it's very extensive. It's very, very extensive. So then I also took the liberty of calling PAR, which helped the 2002 commission put that list together, or put that recommendation together in 2002. And I wanted to speak to Mr. Art Trevlis, who was the person that actually was instrumental in helping that commission put those recommendations together. When I talked to PAR, they was not doing that. Even in 2002, they were not doing that. That Mr. Art actually did it on the side as a consultant on the side. And I asked Miss Jennifer that was there, that I spoke to, if I could speak, or this committee could speak to Mr. Art. Well, needless to say, the gentleman is very ill, and I was told he was dying. And, of course, that led to a dead end. With that in mind, I too, Ms. Terry, thought about saying, okay, is this something, being that after I had incorporated the two together, it being so extent, and taking the 12 recommendations that they did and trying to replace the existing charter with the 2002 recommendations, and it took me quite a bit of time to understand and go through it with their recommendations. With that in mind, I too think we need someone in the professional opinion that can give us a professional opinion that could help us with this from the professional side, because like Mr. Poche, this was done in 2004, I believe, 1994, 94, and it reflects back to the state constitution, et cetera, and it's very, very, very in-depth and kind of complicated. And with that in mind, I too would like to say let's start by forming subcommittees that can address each issue that can come before this board or this commission, and start answering these questions that we are asking each other right now that we don't seem to have the answer for, to find those answers. And I think that being me saying that would be to go ahead and, if we can tonight, set up a few subcommittees or sub people to start looking at what is the cost of hiring a consultant, so that we can notify the parish, notify the council, and the parish president, and maybe even thinking about getting these people in and see if they can help us. And I spoke with Mr. Don Hanna, who actually sat on the 2002 commission, and he said we need to, well, his recommendation would be a good idea to start from there. And I tend to agree with them. After looking at it and putting it together, I tend to agree with it, because I talk with a few of the people, and some of the issues that they have right now, the 2002 recommendation answers some of those issues, but we have some new issues that come up since then that we can start addressing. And I don't know what the feel of the board is in doing the subcommittees to start, say, looking at bringing in outside counsel, contacting them and say, hey, can you come before us, and this is what we need, and this is what we're looking for, what is it going to cost us, et cetera. And what do y'all feels about it?
Who are you referring to when you're saying outside counsel? I'm not sure that I understand who we're actually referring to.
Okay, in 2002, the commission was given some money by two organizations, and they hired this gentleman that worked with PAR at the time, and he was very in detail. No, sir, right. I'm saying maybe we need to form a committee, a little subcommittee, to start looking at finding someone maybe to his capacity that can answer all our questions in a sense of in the area where we are not very, very familiar with, and that can give us some answers, as well as our legal advisors here.
Wouldn't it be prudent on us to see how far we can go prior to giving consideration to hiring someone? I mean, I'm assuming that most of the other members feel the same way as I do. Is that at this point we don't have the first issue to address.
Well, what I was saying is we start with the 2002 and see what it is, and then if we need help, look at seeing that. That's the thing I'm maybe not. Yes, sir. Right. I mean, don't just hire someone right now. Miss Van, just a minute. This lady wants to speak. When do I recognize her?
You can't.
Step up to the chair.
What's that, sir? Okay. You don't want to listen, see what?
I'm okay.
Sure.
Yeah. We have someone that wanted to give some input from the audience, and we'll now recognize that person.
3 minutes.
The chair now recognize that person. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
I won't take 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Kluwak. I followed the council and the president's recommendations to do the commission, and I really agree with Mr. Poche. They did not say in the ordinance that they were going to designate a certain amount of money for the charter. They did give you all the secretarial help you need, the legal advisor, and this document is not hard to understand. It's detailed, but it's not difficult. Remember, it's going to go before the people. It's going to be put on the ballot. It needs to be clear and concise, but not difficult for a common person to understand. We do not need to I don't believe hire an outside consultant, because what we're trying to do here with this document is get good government. Okay, that's our goal. So we have good government that works well for the people. So I agree with Mr. Poche. I think if you take this document and study it, understand it, look at all the recommendations, and then come back and discuss it together, you yourselves will be able to come up with any recommendations that are necessary. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Are there any comments, any more comments on this issue?
We certainly appreciate the confidence that the
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
The chair, please, that you come.
And I'll just follow up on what Mr. Poche says. I think we can, let's give ourselves some time, get our feet good and wet. And if we really get bogged down and we got to call in some stronger reinforcements, I think. But I'm certainly in agreement with you, Mr. Clark. We may well reach a point we need to do that. But for starters,
Right. Start with the 2002 and
the 2002
what we need to do here.
committee
and then if we
findings
get at that point,
is going to
then
be a
we
great
go ahead.
benefit for us. I think we're really fortunate to have that documentation in front of us. It gives us a good head start. And I say we forge ahead and decide, do we want to set certain, do we want to just start with that, put certain items on the agenda for each upcoming meeting and say we're going to, we'll limit it to this and go there, or just simply show up at each meeting and go as far as we can go in a reasonable amount of time. I do believe we're somewhat obligated to produce an agenda and try to adhere to and follow the agenda. And so we need to give some thought to our, I guess, a plan of action of exactly what it is we're going to show up each night and try to get accomplished and not get bogged down and be here, long periods of time and not really make any progress. But beyond that, I think both of y'all are on the right track.
Thank you. Well, I, as the chairman, would like to put together a schematic scheme from right now till the end duration time, with a schedule and an outline as what we feel like this committee needs to do to get to that deadline in relation to reviewing these charters, like putting it in where we allocate so much time for this and that, and whoever is on a subcommittee be able to do what they need to do and come back at this particular commission on a meeting night like tonight and furnish that report.
So in essence, what you're saying is we form a group of subcommittees, and then we take portions of the charter, and each committee would report out. Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is, in other words, like, I guess what I'm saying, in other words, like, if someone is going to be in charge and see about getting outside parish, other parish presidents and councilmen here, and other parish charters and everything. I mean, we need to start somewhere. We need to have an agenda to say this is what we're going to do. We're sitting here and saying this, but we don't really have an agenda. And if anybody has any put to help put this agenda together, let's send forth with it right now. Let's start now.
That was going to be my next question, as to how are we actually putting the agenda together. Have y'all made a rule last meeting that I'm not
No, sir.
aware of?
No, sir. We did not. In other words, it was just Mr. Martinez came in and just gave us an introduction and formed a committee, and then we elected officers, and then we did not conduct any business at that time, other than just set up the monthly meetings and set up to basically just monthly meetings. That was it.
If it's okay with the board, I'd like the secretary to add old business and new business to each agenda. On each agenda, add new business and old business.
I think on the next meeting, Mr. Don Hanna could not attend this meeting. He's out of town. and he sat on the 2002, and I think he would be very good to tell us how they started and what areas, how they formed their committee and how they went. Because right now it looks like we all going and want to go to the same path, but it looks like we're going in different directions. So I think we need to get an agenda set up to where this is what we're going to do, and follow that agenda, and then come on up with the answer to that, to what the council's asking us to do.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, when we drew up the charter, we did have people come in and speak to us from different parishes, not just from one.
Yes, sir.
And the experience that we had from that was that each of them thought that their charter was the charter, that if we simply adopted their charter, we would have a great charter. And basically, everyone that came in told us exactly the same thing. There was very little, if you will call that discussion, where we could ask them a specific question where what we envisioned we wanted in our charter that differed from theirs.
Yes, sir.
We didn't find one instance where we would have been accurate and they would have been wrong. I'm not saying not to bring them, because it's good for discussion.
Yes, sir.
But as far as getting a great deal of results from it, it really was pretty minimal. Although, like I said, in some instances we copied their ordinance verbatim on certain issues, but their actual participation was very limited to help, as far as help is concerned.
Would it be a good idea that, has anybody read the current charter and actually read the 2002 Commission recommendations?
Yes.
And in other words, have any comments on the two? I mean, we need to start somewhere, and I think that's a place to start right now as well.
Take the least controversial ones first.
Just wash our hands and jump in it. It's like, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, could we develop an agenda for next meeting where everyone will have agreed to have reviewed all the documentation that we've been provided, and begin there?
Yes, can we?
Yes, actually, any commission member can call Suzanne and place an item on the agenda. You might want to establish a deadline to have all agenda items in by a certain time, but no later than 24 hours must the notice and the entire agenda be posted here at the courthouse to give the public notice of what you're speaking on.
Okay, then I'm going to say that anyone wanting anything on the agenda for the upcoming meeting, have it to Miss Suzanne's possession by 10 o'clock the Monday of the Monday of the week that we're meeting. That would be a sufficient time to have that posted? Can you? Okay. I'm going to make a suggestion tonight that everyone take the existing charter and the 2002 charter and read it and see if the 2002 recommendations fit in to what this committee is trying to do.
I was going to ask you what the 2002 charter was.
I mean, the commission. I'm sorry. I apologize. The 2002 commission report. Read it and see and compare it. Let's everyone do that for the next meeting, to where they can come back and we can discuss it and take line item by line item. And if that's right, in other words, if that is a starting point, let's do that. Let's take that. Nothing was done with the 2002 commission report. So let's take that 2002 commission report and apply it to the present charter. And everyone has their notes and their ideas, their suggestions, and have it ready to discuss, and have it ready to where if we can incorporate that as part of it, then we start interviewing. Then we'll be well aware and well abreast of what's in both of them, and then we can start interviewing the people that we want to interview, and we'll make our changes as well from there. Is anybody disagreeing with that?
No, I think it's an excellent way to get started, and pains me somewhat to admit I have not had time or an opportunity since our last meeting to do much more than glance over this stuff. It's a pretty extensive report with probably some really good recommendations, but we did also discuss at our last meeting that since 2002, Ascension Parish has changed significantly, and while the recommendations of 2002 were probably excellent at that time, may not look quite as lucrative right now with the population we have, but it's a good starting point, and we certainly need to do that and at least get things started and see where our problems are.
Now, if anybody would like a copy,
As defined by them.
yeah,
Right.
if anybody would like a copy of what I've done, I've taken the two and can put them together in comparison. And if anybody would like a copy of it, you're welcome to obtain a copy from. I'll give it. Ms. Suzanne has a copy, and I'll give it to her. And all it is saying, it's like, for instance, first item is the president's veto power. This is the existing, what's in the existing charter now, and this is what it takes over these items here. So it's quite extensive. So let's everybody take the two charters. Let's start reading it. Let's everybody take the home rule charter that's active now, and take the 2002 commission, and let's see, along with the recommendations of what we get from our interviews, along with the difference between 2002 to the present time, and let's go from there. Let's everybody be prepared next month, and next month's meeting to discuss this charter. Let's everybody read it. Let's everybody be familiar with it in the areas that are compared between the two, and ready to discuss it. You'll be more familiar to ask questions to the people whenever they come before us. You'll be familiar with the home rule charter itself. You'll know what they're talking about. And let's everybody be ready for the next meeting by reading the two together. It's not saying that we have to adopt what 2002 did, but they paid $10,000 for it, and let's look at it. It's valuable. It's worth something, and it was prepared by one of the leading consuls in this type of work in the state of Louisiana, is what I was told.
If you've done some preliminary work on that, I'd like to have the secretary mail a copy to all the members.
I'll be more than happy to give her that. And just something else I'd like to throw in, just out of information. When we start asking, home rule charters are not but a couple of parishes, and they're all in the South. All in the southeast portion of the state, except for one parish in the north. There's a commission. And if anybody would like that, to have an idea, to look and see if you want to talk to anyone in these parishes in a position that can talk about their home rule charter, I'll also have it with Ms. Patterson.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and include that in the next mail out, if that's how she's going to get us that.
We're all in agreement, but everybody really sit down now and read this home rule charter, and be prepared to sit before this committee and say, no, this is the direction. Get a direction that we want to go into, and let's nail it down and go.
Probably would be a good idea if the secretary would put in the package that she's going to be mailing to the members that's not here tonight? Tell them
Sir?
that the members that's not here tonight?
Yes, sir.
If the secretary would put a brief note in there notifying them that that's what will be discussed.
Yes,
please
sir.
review it so they'll understand what's going to be on the agenda.
She will, and there's 3 commission members that are no longer commission members that were stated to be commission members that she will contact. I talked to the parish president today, and they will contact the representative that nominated them for this board so that we can go ahead and have these people appointed for the next meeting so that we have a full board. I would not like to have someone come on this board that's halfway through the process of what we're trying to do.
That was the next subject I wanted to discuss. Was it can we put some emphasis on making sure we fill the vacancies on this commission so that they don't come in, well behind
I spoke
us?
with Tommy today, and he promised me that he would contact the individuals that nominated the people to sit on this board, that they need to get another nominee in, and he promised me that he would get that done.
Very good.
Their council meeting is Thursday night. Will they have it done by that time?
Tomorrow night.
Because they have to do it at the council meeting.
I would hope that I will talk to Pat Bell about it. I don't know if they can get in. I don't know if I cannot answer that, but I will talk.
It's not on the agenda for next Thursday, so it will have to be the Donaldsonville meeting at the 1st of August.
It does have to be
Yes,
have the
it needs
approval
to
of the
be-
full
yes,
council.
They need to be appointed by the
Thank you.
council.
And we need it. And I'd really like to emphasize that, being as we're in the heat of doing this, we need to all try to attend these meetings as much as possible.
Can they do that on a 2/3 vote, by the way?
I don't believe that would qualify as an
Thank you.
emergency.
Give it your best shot.
Is there any more discussion? Is there any more comments?
Well, I have maybe a couple of questions for our legal advisor. Is first, and maybe you can help Suzanne on this, how do we prepare the agenda where we certainly want to be proper in how specific do we have to be for, say, an open discussion on what it is we're attempting to do?
You need to be as specific as possible. If there's a specific, provision of the charter that you want to discuss, I would lay out in detail the section number and what exactly you want to discuss.
Right. See, that's my concern is how obligated are we to produce an agenda that clearly defines. Okay, we can't just do a generic. We're a commission here to.
No, you can't just do old business and new business. You're going to have to be very specific about the agenda items you discuss.
Okay.
As specific as you can be.
Okay, so that's one question. Second question, regarding Ms. Suzanne minutes, and I'm not either for or against, but I've served on a number of boards and different commissions where you're somewhat obligated to read and approve and accept minutes of a prior meeting. Is that something that needs to be on our agenda monthly? Is that we read the previous minutes and accept them or amend them, or are we obligated in that regard?
That was not addressed in the ordinance, but I do think that would be proper for you all to adopt the previous month's minutes at the current meeting. So you can adopt the past 2 meetings at the upcoming meeting.
Right, which is how we did it on a number of boards I was on. We didn't always do it at the next meeting, but
Right.
at some point, all minutes have to be approved and accepted
That's correct.
by a sitting board or commission.
Commissioner DePlessis, Chairman, at the time Vice Chairman Clark and I discussed that, adopting the minutes, but we had already prepared the agenda, and that's why we didn't put those, that was not an agenda item this evening.
Clear enough for me. So we don't need a motion to make this happen in the upcoming meetings. It's
No.
just understood. We'll place that on the agenda.
That will be a line item on the agenda to accept or amend the minutes of the previous meetings.
Like I say, again, I'm not advocating for or against. I want to stay as proper as we can.
That's what we're here to do. That's it. Let me ask you something, Ms. Mann. In relation to preparing this agenda, is there any line item that can be put on the agenda that can be left for like general discussion on open topics, of any open topic discussion?
Like I said, you want to be as specific as possible.
Okay.
I think tonight it was acceptable because you all had just received the 2002 recommendations to have a general discussion of that. But in the future, you do want to be as specific as possible with your discussion items. Like I said, if you want to reference a specific section of the charter or something to that effect, that would be fine.
That's what I thought when you started saying that. If we make reference to a particular section of the charter that we'll be discussing, I don't know that we'll know at that exact point what part of that section we'll be actually changing or going over.
Right.
But once we reference that section, that should suffice, I would thought, huh?
I think it will suffice, but certainly if a commission member has a specific recommendation and wants to address something more minute, I think that should be included in the agenda to give the public notice of that.
Okay. But now, what if, again, having somewhere to start, somewhere to look at, again, I keep mentioning the 2002 Commission report, and in that, it went from different areas of the Home Rule Charter. So you're saying that when we put a line item on the agenda to discuss a line item or a item in the Home Rule Charter, and it reflects 4 or 5 items in the Charter or sections in the Charter, that has to be also? So it pretty much covers the whole charter, really.
If you know you're going to be discussing specific
Yes, ma'am.
items, maybe 4 items, you could have agenda item 1A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
It's just you want to let the public know what you're speaking about, so
Yes,
if they're
ma'am.
interested, they can come and comment.
Yes, ma'am. Because the reason I'm saying is, this is just a note that I did of the items that were affected with the 2002 Commission, and these sections and articles and sections in it, like I was saying, it pretty much affected the whole, pretty much the whole charter.
Right.
So then we'd have to give you something to this effect, like this, like section 5-01 A and D.
I think that would be helpful
Okay.
to you all, because you don't want to sit there and have one agenda item and spend 2 hours discussing the entire
Okay.
2002 recommendations.
Okay.
If you want to just
All right.
maybe,
Yes, ma'am.
discuss a few of them, I think that would be good. You need to be specific as
well-
possible.
Okay.
We could not just take that as a subject matter, let's say in regards to we was going to go over it and maybe prioritize which ones we were to work on first.
Certainly, if you wanted to prioritize, maybe at the next meeting, say, at the
I mean,
following...
as opposed to specifically saying right now, we'll be working on that item 3 and 7 and 9. We could say that we're going to look at the whole deal and maybe prioritize what we would think is the most important to work on.
Yes, certainly, you can do that.
Following up on the agenda then, and will we be able to amend the agenda?
You will be able to amend the agenda up until the point that it goes out to the public for notice. So in other words, I believe you all set Monday at 10 o'clock that in the week before the Wednesday meeting. No amendments will be able to take place after that, unless of course there are emergencies, which effective August 15th, the commission would have to unanimously vote that it is in fact an emergency.
Now, that
Chances
would
are
be-
you're not going to come across an emergency in this commission, so
Right,
I'd say
okay.
10 o'clock Monday.
That would be the unanimous vote of the people that are here,
Correct.
not the whole entire board.
Correct.
Okay. Suzanne. Is there anybody have anything else to have input or in a direction? Say, Mr. Porsche, I'd like to meet with you after the meeting to kind of.
Oh, certainly.
Being you the vice chairman, I'm gonna.
I'd like to first thank you for bringing that subject matter up about doing this O2 report. I think it's very important that this commission start working on some particular area, since they've done a lot of this work for us.
Exactly.
We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Now, we may agree with them and we may not agree with them,
Exactly.
but at least we have a starting point. the subject matters that they discuss, it may not be the only ones we wish to go over.
Exactly.
But at least we have something to start with. We can go through that list, get it behind us, whether we agree with it or don't. We can make our decisions from that, amend it or whatever. Then we can go into the fact, well, look, they didn't cover this. I'd like to cover this section here. But at least we have a starting point. I'd like to commend you for bringing that to us.
And then also, we can take it from 2002 to right now, to present time. You know, and everybody. So everybody, my understanding then that everybody's going to be well abreast of the Home Rule Charter and the 2002 Commission for next meeting, that we can really take our hands and gloves and really get into this thing, because we got a deadline of April the 1st of 2009. And Mr. Martinez, please ask if we could possibly get that done. And I feel like that we can, due to the fact that the 2002 Commission has, believe you me, it has touched a good part of the parish ordinances that are in that commission. And I talked to him about it, and a lot of the concerns that we're going to hear from these people addressed, the 2002 Commission addressed those issues. Without that, then...
Okay. Well, I got one final question for legal is, as a commission, we're governed strictly by the ordinance that was drawn up
No.
for us, or do we
right, you
need
have to follow
bylaws?
open meetings law, comply with public records request.
Well, I
whole
understand
gamut.
that, but like, does this commission, do we need a set of bylaws?
No.
No,
Okay.
I didn't think, no.
Okay.
Is there any more? Any
I move to
anything else?
adjourn.
Second. Meeting is adjourned.
Got a